Okay, thank you guys for joining us. I am so excited to be diving in. Welcome to EFT Secrets for Coaches. Tame your anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion that comes up all the time, especially when you are getting started as a coach and you're going throughout this coaching journey. So I have a special guest here with us today who is going to tell us all that we need to know about anxiety and give us some tips and strategies for us to be able to manage it. So I'm super, super excited to have Sophia here with me. For those of you that don't know me, I am Jenjo and I help introverted coaches break into the coaching industry and sign their first paying clients without needing to be certified. And even if they hate sales and marketing, I support them one-on-one and in a group format. So I can definitely answer questions about that, have them. But I am not an expert on anxiety. So I need this too. So I've contracted my friend Sophia to come and share with us. Sophia is a trauma-informed educator and coach and has been an emotional freedom technique practitioner for the past 11 years, y'all. Talk about experience, okay? She has cared for hundreds of professionals and helping them manage anxiety, depression, and chronic pain through her work. Sophia, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. So let me just kind of expound on that. Let me go back. Before 2012, I was this very insecure, anxious, and depressed, I guess I would say young lady. um, and my degree is in occupational therapy, so I was working in that field and I didn't love it. I did enjoy helping people, but I didn't love the profession. So I found out about EFT, I think, on someone's email list or something. And it was like a trailer for this movie called Try It On Everything. So I watched it and I was like intrigued by it. So I looked it up and I saw that they were having um, like an intro to EFT course, like in the local community center. So I went and checked it out and I was hooked just from like the little 2 hours. So I decided to go get trained in it. And when I tell you, when I went to go get this training, it was like the heavens opened up because here I was like working on um, something that happened in seventh grade because I had really bad social anxiety. I'm working on something that happened in seventh grade and I'm like crying, like, I'm like, wait, that was such a long time ago, right? But the crazy thing is after that, and honestly, I didn't realize till later, but after like getting this training and us like it being experiential and really like diving in, I didn't realize how much I like shifted as a person. And so after that, I just started like spreading the news about EFT, like telling any and everybody. And at the time I was working as a occupational therapist. I started doing it with the patients and people were getting results like they was having fear of falling and all of a sudden they were able to. Did you have a question, like you were looking, or
Yes.
you just
So
excited?
not, I'm sure everybody that's on here and watching
Uh-huh.
in the replay probably doesn't know what EFT is. So if we could just clarify real quickly what that is.
Oh, okay. Okay, because I noticed like body language, like, okay, she needs to say something. Okay, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's a mind body healing tool. And when I first learned it, it was more considered like woo woo, as they call it, right? But I didn't care because it like got major results. It like helped me to shift the anxiety that I had, the depression and insecurities and all of that. And so anyway, I want to go back. So I would use it with the patients and they were getting great results, like, the fear of falling or fear of falling in the shower. They were able to get back to doing those things again, pain or just their confidence level. And so I was like, I just want to do this. Like, I don't love occupational therapy and I want to do more with this. So that's when I decided to get into teaching it to other healthcare professionals. Right. And so with no experience, like I went and got with this continuing education company. And because I had so much fire, they were like, yeah, we want you. Right. So I went, so I started teaching it to other healthcare professionals, and I ended up teaching it in 12 states. So I've spread it around to a lot of people. So I'm happy about that. And then just my enthusiasm and me just telling people about it, people were just wanting sessions. So I help people, like I've done things with kids with autism, performance issues like sports performance, relational issues, I mean, anxiety, depression, like you name it. I pretty much done a session. So I was
I
kind of,
love how you got into it because you
yeah,
found it, you were intrigued, you used it on yourself first, and you saw the results and the impact, and then you went all in. I have a very similar experience of how I came to become a coach in that I needed help. I hired a coach. I saw the transformation and what it did for me. Then I'm like, oh my God, everybody else needs to know about this. And then I became a coach and started helping other coaches become successful in this industry because I know how impactful it was in my own life. And I'm like, the world needs more of this, right? So
yeah,
I love that
yes,
that's very similar. I'd love to really focus our conversation today on how anxiety shows up for us coaches throughout our journey, and then what we can really practically do. Because the sad thing is, many people do enter certification programs to become coaches, or they get excited and start going out there and trying to build their businesses, but many don't stay in it. And it's not that they lack so much knowledge, but I think they lacked a lot of courage, right? For a lot of the things that it was required after they got the education that they needed to actually go out there and start doing the things of coaching people, promoting themselves and building a business. So I want to take us through the different stages and what comes up, what came up for me and what I see in my clients all the time. And hopefully you can give us some insight as to what's happening and some strategies that will help us actively work through it so that we can show up for our business and get the kind of results we want. Yeah?
absolutely.
Okay. So in the beginning, right? A lot of us are super excited about it. We want to get out there. We want to do this, but there is such fear and anxiety that's created into the body when you're ready to tell somebody that you're a coach. You want to tell them, but then you're like, I don't feel like I can. I don't feel legitimate. I just feel this pit in my stomach. I feel like I should revert back to saying the thing that I've been before. And I went through it where it took me a while to say, oh no, I'm a school leader or I'm an assistant principal and a coach, right? Then that was the transition that I was at and the coach. But at first it was just like, oh my God, I missed an opportunity to tell them I'm a coach. And then I started doing the and then I eventually could move to just saying that I was a coach, right? And I also felt a lot of that even after that when I went to market myself, right? To put it out there in the world. So not just even having one-on-one conversations, but telling large scale people like on social media or something like that, or putting it in an email blast. So can you tell us what's happening in our bodies when we are feeling the sensation that tells us, no, it's not safe to do that?
Yeah. So either two things could be happening. One is being a coach opposed to whatever you were doing before is like a new identity. So that is unsafe to your nervous system. So your nervous system is freaking out. The job of the nervous system is to keep you the same, because being the same is safe. It's all about safety. It doesn't care about you and your dreams and your desires. It just wants you safe. So if this is a whole new identity for you, then it's like, uh-uh. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing is anything that is um new, which is kind of same with the identity, but anything that you're doing that's new is also alarming to the nervous system. And so a lot of times people will feel those sensations and then they just check out, like it's too uncomfortable. But that is completely normal. And that's what helped me to understand that those sensations, they're gonna be there because anytime we do anything different, um, that it's the alarm gets sounded, right? So that's another thing. It was something else. Um, if it could be that people, I've heard this before, like everybody kind of knew you as this thing, and people may be hating. Like you'd be surprised some of the things that cause our nervous system to like freak out, like others, like judgments. Like that's one of my accountability partners. Like they're gonna be like, did he go mad? Like he's just throwing everything away. What are you doing? Right. So it could be like the fear of others' judgment that can also be causing it. I mean, let's put it this way. Somewhere along the lines, it doesn't feel safe to
Yeah.
move forward.
I love
Yeah.
that you said identity, because in my impact method that I work through with my clients, I stands for identity shift. Like you really have to start assuming the identity of a coach and like really lean into that. And it's really like very different because for 13, 15, 20 years, you've been this other thing, right? For me, it was like, I've been an educator, I'm an educator. And now it's like, I got to say I'm a coach. Like, oh my God, am I letting go of this identity? Like adopting this new thing? But can you give us some strategies that make it a little easier for us when we're feeling or we're in that state or when we need to move through that shift in identity?
Yeah. So the first thing is to understand that it's normal. I think that was the most helpful for me. Um, was like one of my teachers was like, it's gonna be like, right? Like your nervous system was like, right, and then when you go do it, then it says, oh, okay,
I didn't die is what I tell
right?
my clients. I'm like, yep, you did it, and you
Yeah,
did.
you didn't die.
You're okay.
Right. And so the first thing is to know that it's normal. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is to know how to be able to work with um those uncomfortable sensations because they don't feel good. I know for me when I went to do the speaking tour, like you got to understand I had social anxiety. Like I couldn't like walk into a like man was really bad. Like so I couldn't walk into a room full of people and not like freak out. So here I am going to do speaking tour. Like what? Right. So a lot came up for me at that particular time. And I've literally felt sick, like sick to my stomach. And so those are those sensations, very uncomfortable sensations that is happening because the fight or flight response is being activated. So those chemicals are dropping in. And so being able to understand that and then being able to work with those sensations. And that's where EFT comes in and works wonders with being able to work through those sensations.
Is there any like little strategy, a quick thing that we can do to kind of bring us in and remind us that
Yeah.
this is okay?
Yeah. So you know what? Let me go over with you like the points for EFT and then I'll let you know like what's a really good point just for anxiety, but I'm gonna go through all the points. So the first one is called the karate chop point, and that's where a karate master would chop a brick. So you would just tap with your finger tips like this on that point.
For those who aren't familiar, EFT is also called tapping, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the more common thing that it goes by tapping. So it's
yeah,
really
tapping.
tapping your body.
Yes. Okay,
So
and
when
then the
you feel
next
like feel
point,
this, okay.
yes. And people always ask me like, well, how many times? And they say it's around 7, but honestly, I don't count. It's almost like you'll know when to go to the next point. Like your body kind of tells you. Like that's kind of what I would say. And I wouldn't get caught in like how many taps because then you're gonna be focused on that, and that can
Yeah.
take away from it. Yeah. So then the next point is beginning of the eyebrow point. And then the next point is side of the eye. The next point under the eye. And then under the nose. It looks crazy. Under the lip. And then fat your collarbone and go like maybe an inch down and kind of feel around. A lot of times there's a sore spot. Once every blue moon, someone would tell me that they don't feel a sore spot. But most of the time, if you feel around in there, there's like a sore spot, and that's where you would tap. And then under the arm where the bra strap goes, underneath.
Ah, okay. Hold on. Let's see if people can see here.
Yeah, yeah, yep. And this will be a little sore spot under there too. And then top of the head, right?
I like,
So, huh?
I like this one.
You like that? Well, see, people, there's points. People like, yeah, that's it. All right, speaking to you, right? So those are all the tapping points, right? But the easiest thing to do is just the one here under the collarbone. And this is one is for anxiety. Okay. So when you're feeling those uncomfortable sensations, you focus in on where you're feeling it and you tap. Okay. And then for me, what I did, because you can do it two ways. You can just focus in on the sensations because the sensations are the emotions and they are felt in the body. So you can just do that until they start to subside. But me, I would just speak because we have different parts of ourselves, right? And I know, I mean, there's no Unitarian self. And actually, like study something called parts work where we have different parts, right? And some of them aren't in agreement with each other. Okay. So you have a part of you that wants to do big things and do all of this. And then another part is like, no, let's stay the same.
Yeah, I want to get into that. Before we get into that, because I think that we see this throughout the entire journey, but especially at the third stage that I want us to talk about. I love this tapping technique because I can see it as something that you do before you do the thing that is bringing up a lot of feelings for you, like before you go and put that post on social media, before you go send that message to follow up with someone, before you go into that networking event where you're supposed to be telling all these people that you're a coach. But then there's this other thing that happens. There's a big part of the coaching journey that is actually doing sales. And people have a lot of thoughts about sales and their fear about being sleazy and pushy. And it really comes up when they're on sales conversations with the prospective client. So they'll be on the conversation, but things are going good, they're giving a lot of value, they're understanding the client needs. And then the client has an objection. An objection is simply someone saying, well, I got to think about it. I got to speak to my partner, or I can't afford that right now. And all of a sudden in the body, it's like this sinking feeling. You're like, oh my God, I'm losing the sale. They're going to be a no. And I don't want to push them, right? Be pushy and push and inquire more and go further because I don't want to be salesy and pushy. And the body has this visceral reaction that says, abort mission, get off the call, leave them alone, let it go, right? What can we do in that moment? Because I encourage my clients and I teach them how to move past that, right? But it's very difficult at first and it takes several tries. So what's something, because they can't like really just stay there and tap the whole time while they're waiting for a response. What can they do that's like a quick thing
Well,
to bring them
okay.
back?
Well, first of all, you want to set yourself up before, like you want to be in a calm, like regulated state. And so for me, I would get in the mirror, give myself a pep talk, remind myself why I'm doing this, but no matter what, I'm good enough while I'm tapping, right? So setting yourself up before is super important. And if by chance you're in the middle of having this call, I have tapped, like there's some tapping points on the fingers. I didn't show that because it's not a common one, but I've bust out and tapped during that just to keep myself like regulated.
I really like that because if it's on a Zoom call, which is what I
Exactly.
them to do, no, you can't see my hands right now. I am tapping. I am tapping away. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. So I think that that is important to be able to already be regulated and kind of in a good space, and so that you're not taking it personal, because I think that energy really does affect things too. So that's most important. But
I
don't
love
bust out the fingers.
that. And I tell them all the time, it's like how your energy, right, is what's dictating how you're going to deal with that situation. Because if you're anxious right now and you're just like, I need to run from this, you're like, okay, let me know, hang up the call, right? All this,
Yeah.
that person's not get back to you. Like, we're done.
Mhm. Mhm.
This was the opportunity, right? So I'm like, no, just take a breath, take a minute, take a pause. I'm like, you can be tapping right now and ask a question, right? Just go into curiosity. Be curious, right? And like, don't believe that one client is gonna make or break your business.
Right. Exactly.
They're not. Like, it's not gonna be built on one client.
Exactly.
It's not gonna
Exactly.
be just one client. Like, this is just
Yes.
conversation. I love that.
Exactly.
Now, you were talking about you want this, right? You want to become a coach, you want to do this, but then there's a part of you that's very afraid. And I feel like the third stage of your coaching journey is really where I see this. I saw this in myself. I so badly wanted to be a full-time coach. And here I had this opportunity to finally go do it. And I was scared shitless. Like, I knew what it was to be a full-time entrepreneur, right? Because I had already had one business. And I was like, oh my God, I just don't want to do that experience again. Like, I had done it, but it wasn't the smoothest ride. And now I'm about to jump and take that leap again. And this is exactly the business that I wanted. It's the reason why I shut down the other business. It's the reason why I went back and took the steady job to build this thing up. And I so badly want to help people in this way. But oh my God, pulling the trigger feels like I'm going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. To your
Right?
nervous system, that's what it
Yes.
thinks. That's
Yeah.
what it thinks.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what we can do in that situation?
Yeah. So again, we have the different parts. So you want to make sure, because what a lot of people do is either try to ignore that part and like shove it down, which is not going anywhere. It's gonna get you if you don't acknowledge it. So acknowledge what's coming up, right, while tapping. And there's this one method that one of my colleagues, I want to say she created it, and she calls it argue tapping. Um, so it's like the one part is like, no, I can't, you can't do this, blah, 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 you crazy, remember what happened, and just like give it a voice, right? And then the other part comes in and says, but this is what we wanted, and you go back and forth. Now you're no longer like in battle. And then you end with that part of you that really wants this. Like, so that's been something that's been really amazing to
I
do.
love that.
Argue tapping.
Tapping. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when this happened, I had reread actually the 4 Hour Work Week, which is an amazing book. I recommend it. But he talks about fear setting, right? And this argue tapping reminds me of this concept of like listening to that voice. It's there for a reason. It's trying to
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And once we actually look at all the valid points it's trying to make, right? It's like, Jen, your income is going to be inconsistent. Jen, we have a lot of clients now, but this is not the norm, right? Like, what if we don't have a lot later? We've experienced low months, and that could be extremely stressful. How are we going to make sure that we guarantee that we cover our rent, right? So once you actually give a voice and give it airspace, you can actually plan to address that.
Exactly.
Right? Like
Exactly.
develop a strong plan. And this is one of the things like I help when they're ready to make that move. It's like, okay, how much do we need to have in savings for us to calm the system and say, we got this, we're okay. Right? How are we going to make sure that we attract new clients? What's that system look like? How are we going to increase our close rate so that we are closing at a higher percentage? Like addressing the issues. And I love that concept of argue tapping. Anything else you'd like to share?
Let's see. Anything comes up for me. Yeah, so I did want to talk a little bit about because there's a difference between like a person who has like chronic anxiety opposed to like a person that is just anxious in these situations. Um, so like chronic anxiety is where there's a dysregulated nervous system, and it's just been dysregulated for a long time, and usually there's some like unresolved trauma, and so that's deeper work with that person. But then you have people that just get dysregulated during doing stuff that we're talking about, and then so that's when you can use tapping as like a first aid tool to be able to work through that. So I thought I would just share that.
What? That's a really good point. How do you know that you are in the category of it's more severe than just the occasional anxiety that's going
Yeah, because you feel it like all the time. Like I work with people with anxiety and depression, and it's the racing thoughts, it's the heart beating fast, it's the hypervigilance, it's a consistent and chronic thing where a lot of times those people, they'll try to go get medication because it's so uncomfortable. So that's how you know, like if it's something
like it's
that's
getting in the way of
consistently,
daily activity?
it's getting in the way of living, because that's, for me, that was my experience. And that's what made me, get on the path to like self-development and where I'm at was because mine was debilitating. So yeah,
Thank you.
share that.
I
Mhm.
definitely want to open it up to any questions that you guys may have here live. Any situation that you'd like some more insight or anything you'd like Sophia to go a little deeper into. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So, I know you touched on like how to react in moments where you may feel anxious with methods like tapping,
Mhm.
but I guess my question is, how do you get to the point where you can cut down like the delay between recognizing your intent and then acting on it? Because that's something where I'm trying to, you know, there's a delay between like my mind and my body because they feel out of sync. Where I'll know that I'm tense or clenching my jaw like 5 minutes after I've already been doing it. So just wondering how to cut down on that process of like awareness.
Is that happening for you all the time, or just when you're in situations where you, um, as far as coaching business?
Uh, I don't know. I'm definitely with coaching, but probably more than that, like outside of it that I haven't even really recognized.
Mhm. Okay, so you probably, I know for me, I had a daily practice, and and there's no like time frame because I really don't know at what point that I make a lot of shifts. Because even like for me and my parenting, I used to be like snappy, and all of a sudden I wasn't anymore, and I really don't know at what point did that happen. But I had like a daily practice of, for me personally, of tapping. I would like put on some meditation music and just tap daily, and that began to like regulate my nervous system so that I wasn't so like, you know, constrictive or antsy or whatever all the time. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? Or
Yeah. So are you saying that you used the tapping like even before you were got into an anxiety producing situation,
yes,
or okay,
yes,
okay.
yes, yes. I used it daily, and then that started to regulate um, my nervous system. So it's like, like the like athletes, they don't wait till the big game to practice, they practice ahead of time. So
Right,
I
right.
started, yeah, I started a daily practice.
Makes sense. I appreciate that.
Hmm.
I have a question that kind of builds off of that as well. So, I actually had like an interview today, and usually if I have like an interview, I get anxious before then. So would I start tapping like an hour before, or just as soon as like my mind is starting to get into that mode of anxiousness?
It's up to you, because like probably right before it's going to be really intense. And so that's the time where you probably would want to go ahead and dive in and do it right before that moment. And you can just tap on the points right before.
Mhm.
Because if you do it, say, an hour prior, um, as it gets closer, you're going to feel it again, if that makes sense. But you could always start an hour before, but understand that most likely you're going to need it again right before it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then do you find that people's anxiety tends to wane the more and more that they tap?
Absolutely. Because it's a person that has anxiety, again, there's a difference, sort of chronic anxiety, but and everybody needs to regulate their nervous systems, like it's super important. But the more a person does this, the more their nervous system begins to regulate, because most people have, not everybody, but most people have a dysregulated nervous system because again, it could be unresolved trauma, or they could just be I know in my particular case, like nobody taught me how to be with big feelings. And that's the case with a lot of people that I work with, is they don't know how to have a relationship with their emotions. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with those sensations because nobody taught them. And I know back in the day, people just didn't even know about this. We're in different times now. So, doing it often will help to regulate the nervous system so that it's not as, it doesn't take you out, but it's gonna always be there. Like, because anytime you're doing something different, like even with me coming on here today, like I do talks all the time, like, and every time there's a little bit of nervousness there because it's something different. It's gonna be there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that you say that because it's like you don't graduate out of an emotion. Like it's gonna be there, and it's just about like how long you sit in it and feel it. Right now, I'm in the process of processing feelings because that is something that I avoid. I avoid it like the plague, right? And last coaching call with my coach, like I just had to sit with this emotion. And I'm like on the call, tearing up and everything. And I'm like, but I have to feel it because I need to let it process through my body so that so it moves through me and I can go and do the thing that I need to go to. And I love that you also mentioned like doing it not so far in advance, like not an hour before you go do the thing, because it's just going to come up again. And I love that I teach my clients, like whenever, especially in the beginning, before you have a consultation call, you want to have this practice, right? And it could be tapping, it could be journaling, some way for you to get clean and clear in your thoughts, feelings, and enter it in a calm space, right? You want to do that internal work within yourself, knowing that there's going to be moments on this call and this process that are going to be uncomfortable. So you want to make sure that you self-soothe before you go into it.
And I wanted to add that because I love journaling, but what I really love about the tapping is this a somatic thing, and it communicates with the body. And so, and what I've learned as I've been like geeking out and just really diving into like nervous system work is that information goes from the body up to the brain. It's like 80%, right? So it's really coming from the body. So if we can get the body calm, and the tapping is, making contact with the body. And I had one client before, and this was an interesting take, but she said she felt like the tapping was like a mother's embrace, like saying it's gonna be okay, like as she was doing the tapping, but it's communicating to the body and saying you're safe because it's happening in the body, and so it's somatic. So that's what I like about the tapping.
That is awesome. Do we have any other questions? I would love if you would be okay with walking us through a 3, 4, 5 minute tapping process with any affirmations or the kind of talk that you would do so that we get to see and experience it as well. How do you feel about
that? Okay, so the way I work is more like intuition based. So somebody got to come up with something that I can work with them through it. Otherwise,
oh, you need a volunteer. Okay, great. Even better.
Yeah.
Anybody want to go through this process? If they don't go, then I'm gonna have to go. Nobody? Okay, it's on me. All right. Let's go.
All right. So, so you have something that you feel like you could need a little support with what's happening? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I will tell you
Yeah.
what
Okay.
came up in my coaching call. Okay. So it was around scarcity in the dating world, right? So I am dating and there's this feeling of like, nah, that I'm not gonna find a person that is compatible because I've been doing it for a while, and then what I'm seeing and coming across, it's like a lot of the same things, and it's just like losing belief that it's possible. So we were working through that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's start off. So what I'll do is like facilitate you, and then you repeat after me, and then I'll have you like fill in the blank of what comes up. Okay. So you start at the karate chop point. Start tapping at the karate chop. You got it? All right. So
Even though,
you repeat after me,
even though
I've been feeling, I've been feeling,
I've been feeling
and then fill in the blank.
frustrated
Okay. Because,
because I'm not matching with someone that I feel is of quality.
I accept and I honor that this is the way I feel right now.
I accept and I honor that this is the way I feel right
Now, how does that feel for you? If it doesn't feel right, we can switch the words to I'm willing to accept.
now. I feel the feelings coming up in my chest. So I know I'm like feeling it and bringing it up. It's
Okay.
uncomfortable, yeah. So the emotion is here. It's present.
Okay. All right. And so we do that 2 more times. So even though
Even though
I'm feeling,
I'm feeling frustrated
mhm,
that I'm not matching with someone that I think is of quality
mhm, and I feel it where?
in my chest.
Feel it in my chest. Take a moment to just really feel that. And I accept and I honor that this is the way I feel right now.
I accept and I honor that this is the way I feel right
And then one more, even though
now. Even though I'm frustrated
feeling,
that I'm not matching with someone of quality
and feeling it where?
in my chest. But it's like lighter.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I accept and I honor that this is the way I feel right now.
Accept and I honor that this is the way I feel right
Okay. And then we go to the beginning of the eyebrow. I'm feeling frustrated.
now. Feeling frustrated.
Side of the eye, and then just whatever comes up. Let's just talk and tap. And I'll tell you when to move to the next point.
Frustrated.
Under the eye, under the nose.
I don't feel so frustrated.
That was quick.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal.
So what that is you have what is called a cognitive shift, but that can happen. It's like once you give voice to it, now you get out of your emotional brain back into the front part, and then it's just like, oh wait,
Yeah.
okay, you
Also,
know,
it doesn't feel so dramatic.
yeah.
Right.
So is there anything, let's just end, is there anything you'd like to say to that part of you from like your higher self? Like let's end with something like you're gonna be okay, or like it's gonna work out. Like what
Yeah.
is
Like it's okay to feel that way because it has been a long journey. But I want something really special. So I do believe it may take a little
yeah. Okay. Take a breath. It's not always that quick, but
Oh, that was good. Well, I've been processing this, and I'm
that for a
doing it with
while.
my
Okay.
coach, yeah. So
Okay.
it's not like the
Okay.
first time that
Okay.
this has been a minute.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
It's been a minute working through this one. So that feels good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sophia, how can people get in contact with you beyond this?
So I'm on LinkedIn now. So you can, are you guys on LinkedIn? Me and Isaiah.
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So let me just put my name in chat.
Yeah.
And then I'm on Instagram, but like I was doing self-empowerment coaching at one point, and I haven't made the transition yet to what I'm doing now. But I am on Instagram, and I'm just gonna write that down. And then I'm going to write out my like link to a calendar if anybody wanted to, I offer like 20-minute complimentary sessions to see if there's anything we could do together. So I'll write that out. While I'm typing this out, any final questions, comments, anything?
Questions, comments, concerns.
I think of this one teacher that was like derogatory comments. No, I had to throw that in there. I'm a jokester sometimes. Were you gonna say something, Isaiah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate the exercise. Definitely want to try tapping more for myself. Quick question is, how do you factor in breathing? Like I noticed you mentioned to breathe at the end, but that's something that I forget to do sometimes during the process. So how do you make sure that
To
keep
breathe.
breathing?
So so there's a good one you can do with the tapping. So what I started doing is at each point, so you're tapping, that way you're getting it in. Killing two birds with one stone. So yeah, you can do it with the tapping.
Cool, appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's how you spell my name, guys. For LinkedIn, if you wanted to follow me on there. Go ahead.
This isn't new, right? Like I've heard it before, I've seen it, I've seen videos, and I think sometimes we need to experience it and actually do it, just like I did. I'm like, oh, okay, it actually does work, right? Not just watching someone, but like go ahead and do it on yourself so that you can really feel the benefits and the relief. Because someone saying tapping, it's like, oh, okay, I've dismissed it before as like not being the powerful thing that I needed. But that's also because I try to run away from feeling my emotions, right? So like I try to avoid sitting in it and bringing it up and processing it. So I like this though. This is a very active thing that I can do. It's very clear and simple that I can do at any moment to work through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just say that I know for me, maybe some other people, but like the different videos and stuff out there, they have these different like tapping scripts, and I don't like those because they're not necessarily tailored specifically to you. And so that's like when I work with someone, I'm doing intuitive. I've come up with that myself, intuitive EFT, because I get like downloads. Oh, this is where you go with this. So it's just not like rotely doing it. You know what I mean? And that's a big difference.
Yeah. Like those big, like what I was asking was like, oh, can you just like tell us some affirmations while we do it? And you're like, yeah, that's not going to be effective.
No.
You're like, what is going on with you?
Yeah, because it won't be as beneficial. And for me, like I almost, like if I wouldn't have went and got trained in it, like I almost could have lost it, like going along with like a video I saw on YouTube. I was just like, no, this isn't, maybe some of it is relatable, but it wasn't hidden. Yeah.
Be willing to bring up what's actually coming up for you, use your language and work.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you so much for your time and attention. It is wonderful to have you. I will be sending out the replay to the email list, so you will have a copy of it. Sophia, thank you so much for your time and
My
giving
pleasure.
us, sharing your knowledge, your years of experience doing this work. We really appreciate it. Remember, you guys can get in contact with Sophia on LinkedIn, and I am also on LinkedIn as Jen Jo Coaching, so you can feel free to look me up there too. Okay, guys, I hope you go out there and you start tapping whenever those feelings are coming up, and I would love to know like what's coming up for you as you guys are doing it. Make sure that you send me messages or emails and let me know. And I will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.